Just before sunrise over the Black Sea, the cranes at Novorossiysk port move under dim security lights, lifting a set of containers that should not exist. The markings say they hold commercial freight, but satellite eyes from Ukraine's Lanter system see deeper than metal. They detect heat signatures, escort formations, and the unmistakable outline of ballistic missiles being moved in absolute silence. Those weapons are meant to travel north, disappear into forest roads, and one day strike crowded districts far from any front line. In Kiev, that image arrives with a serious message. The most dangerous threats are the ones still wrapped in secrecy. In a basement operations room beneath Kiev, analysts lock onto the convoy's path as it leaves the harbor. The trucks move without headlights, escorted by armored vehicles and electronic warfare support. Each carries a missile strong enough to level a neighborhood and designed to reach deep into cities that thought distance protected them. The convoy is not rushing. It does not need to. Once these missiles reach a protected base, they will become tools of intimidation, shaping negotiations and destroying any sense of safety far from the trenches. This movement is not routine logistics. It signals that another player, China, has stepped into the battlefield with equipment that extends Russia's reach. The trucks roll toward Belgorod under a canopy of pine branches, trusting radar screens and jamming fields to hide them. They think the forest is their shield. They believe darkness grants an advantage. They do not know that they are already inside someone else's crosshairs. Far overhead, a Reaper drone glides through the early morning haze. It keeps its distance, but watches everything. On its screens, the trucks glow bright against the cold forest floor, forming a single line of moving targets that cannot break formation without exposing their purpose. Each exhaust plume, each burst of radio chatter, and each tiny course correction is recorded and fed back to Kiev through encrypted links. Inside the command center, software turns all of that motion into a map of intention. It predicts where the convoy will pause, not at a checkpoint, but at a hidden fueling point that has served Russian armor before. Analysts know this moment is crucial. The trucks slow, personnel dismount, and for those few minutes, their guard drops just enough. The decision forms quickly. There is no debate, no committee, only a recognition that hesitation will let these missiles evaporate into fortified bunkers by sunrise. Striking now means stopping a future attack that has not yet happened, but is already planned. The room grows still as eyes lock on the projected resting point. This is where the convoy becomes vulnerable. This is where a chance exists, and that chance is measured in minutes. Under the cover of trees and radio silence, two modified MTLB vehicles slip off the road and into a stand of pines. Their crews work quickly, camouflaging the hulls and bringing online an unusual payload, powerful emitters and a system built to turn enemy jamming into its own weakness. The vehicles are quiet from the outside, but their electronics begin to sing. From a mile away, Russian Orlan drones start broadcasting strong jamming signals meant to blind any hostile scout overhead. The plan expects that. Echo Trap waits for those pulses and then answers them back, bending and splitting the incoming waves so that the jammers stop being guides and become confused messengers. Screens that once showed steady tracks begin to jitter and contradict themselves. When Echo 1 and Echo 2 flip their mode from listening to reflecting, chaos follows. Orlans and other local emitters report conflicting coordinates, and Russian console operators find their maps smeared with false returns. For nearly 3 minutes, the enemy loses clarity across a crucial sector. That brief blindness is enough. The convoy slowly pushes into the predicted clearing, and the modified MTLBS move to positions a few yards from the road and power down their visible signatures. Operators hold their breath while the command verifies the alignment of every asset: satellite fix, Reaper feed, jamming inversion, and the drone launch coordinates. The forest tightens the engagement into a narrow corridor, and within that corridor, the planners have placed every tool they need. Now the trap is set. The vehicles are in place, the electronic mirror is active, and the convoy is rolling straight into a space designed to leave it exposed for only a short, decisive window. At the agreed signal, 20 FPV drones climbed from camouflage nests like a single pulse of metal and noise through the trees. Each was barely larger than a loaf of bread, but every vehicle carried a shaped charge tuned to penetrate fuel and warhead housings. Their guidance linked to a central processor that updated trajectories hundreds of times a second, turning the swarm into a single thinking weapon rather than a scatter of hobbyist crafts. The first impacts broke the silence. A drone found a fuel tanker and detonated against the seam. Fire answered in a column of orange that threw embers 50 feet into the air. Drivers turned and scrambled, but the convoy had already become a chain of tinder. Within seconds, missiles began to cook off as heat reached sensitive detonators. Explosions propagated along the line with terrifying speed, each blast creating new windows of vulnerability for the next drone to exploit. Nearby, a Panzer S-1 crew detected anomalies on its display and launched countermeasures. Their interceptors followed trajectories plotted against a phantom picture, then arced into empty sky and blew apart in smoke that meant nothing. Communications collapsed into noise. Units lost track of one another, and command voices on the net became screams. In less than 5 minutes, the narrow clearing had turned into a furnace. Metal frames twisted, diesel burned away, and the forest echoed with a sound that left no doubt the convoy was finished. The swarm had done its work, cheap, coordinated, and devastating. When the last fuel tank ruptured and the echoes stopped rolling through the trees, a new kind of quietness settled over the clearing. Smoke drifted upward in slow spirals, lit from beneath by pockets of fire that refused to die. What had been a convoy minutes earlier was now a scatter of twisted frames sinking into scorched soil. Radios that once linked this unit to higher command emitted nothing but static, and the men who survived stared at devices that no longer connected them to anyone. Across the border, radar stations and air defense teams tried to make sense of the sudden blackout. Their systems had lost track not only of the attackers, but of the units they were supposed to protect. Confusion spread faster than any blast wave, and the protective shield that should have responded was left chasing false alarms. In Kiev, operators watched infrared signatures cool and flatten. Satellites confirmed a crater where missile trucks had been moving just an hour earlier. That confirmation did not bring celebration. It brought a moment of stillness and the realization that an escalation had been stopped before anyone outside a command bunker even knew it existed. Russia and China had tried to move the balance in the dark. The dark had answered back. The convoy that was supposed to rain destruction on our cities now lies in a smoking crater, its orders drowned by fire and silence. Subscribe now for the kind of context the headlines skip. Send this to a friend who still bets on numbers over nuance. Tell us below which move you'd make to keep the opponent off balance.